I think I need some help. I am depressed. Not generally. The web developer brain is depressed. I'm pretty happy generally. I'm going mountain biking, I'm traveling, I'm doing a lot of things that are, that make me happy. But when I think about web development, this dark cloud collects in my head, and I just don't know what to do from here. Because, I didn't create StateAdapt to have a state management library, the eighth one or whatever. That's pointless. I didn't create it to boost my career. I've sunk so many hours into it, and it's done nothing for my career. The articles I've written, I became a GDE, and that has done nothing for my career. Basically, I don't do this stuff because I want to get something personally from it, except I want to see something. What I want to see is less garbage code, just less garbage code. And I know it's possible for developers to adopt cleaner patterns, and it happens quite often. I mean, signals are an improvement over a lot of the alternatives people were doing, especially in other frameworks. But I think maybe the industry moves so slowly that it's just painful for me to watch. I don't know what to do. So maybe you can help. I don't even know if I'm going to post this. This is just me thinking. I don't know what to do from here. Like, I could keep pushing StateAdapt. I could keep making videos pushing the exact same stuff I've been talking about for years. But is it going to do anything? Is it going to make a difference at all? Is anybody going to change the way they code because of something they see in one of my videos? I haven't seen any evidence of that yet, because even the people who use StateAdapt, I see issues opened, and most of the time, I'm getting good ideas, but a lot of the questions seem like nobody's reading the documentation even, or even the front page, where at the bottom I have like 3 rules of reactivity to follow, and it's like nobody's following it. I write articles and I keep saying you don't need callback functions, you don't need to wrap things in callback functions, and all the examples everybody sends, they're still writing those methods on their classes, the methods that do literally nothing except add boilerplate and temptation to add more imperative code. I don't feel like anything I'm saying is like connecting. I think even the people who are using StateAdapt are just using it as just another state management library, but with like a slightly different API, and they kind of like it, so they're going for it, but they're not like adapting their coding, the way they think about coding problems because of it. So let me be specific. There are 4 or 5 things that I wish developers were doing that I've been talking about for literally like 5 years, and I haven't seen. There may be a couple of examples of some people learning some of the things, but for the most part, it seems like most people are like, that's nice, and it's like they never saw it after that. They don't really consider it. I really don't know what to do. I feel like I've done everything. I made these bright examples with shiny colors, color coding. Not only that the RxJS version is smaller and more concise, but it's grouped together by concern better. And like, I don't know, like what appeals to developers? What do they want? Don't they want less code? Don't they want things to be easier, simpler? Someone did implement this in Svelte and with way less code than even the RxJS version, but then I realized that they just kind of put a lot of characters in each line, and so I refactored it to also use RxJS, and it was about half the lines of code as well. Anyway, if you want code that's more co-located and minimal, these are the ways you achieve it. These are the first 3 ways. And these are huge. These are like ways to level up. And the fact that I talk about these things so much and then don't see them from anybody else almost, it's kind of discouraging because it means people aren't really considering them or absorbing them. It's like passing ideas that just kind of, get tossed into the stream of other ideas and they just kind of forget about it. I don't get why this isn't why my stuff, why so many for me can watch it and interact with it and then just kind of never adapt to it or absorb it. So help me figure out what I need to do to are there examples? Nobody shows me examples where these patterns don't work. It's always like a silent disagreement. There's some kind of disagreement because people aren't taking to it, but nobody says why. And I want to know what I need to do more besides show like all these diffs. Like, I don't know how many, I've done dozens, and it's not doing anything. I wrote a whole freaking library and it's not doing anything. I haven't spent time designing a homepage for it and I put all this time into it and nobody is changing the way they code. At least I'm not seeing it. Okay, so for this first level, this React developers have an issue with this when it comes to shared state probably. But basically, the idea is you want state to be minimal. Everything that can be downstream should be downstream. So you have the most minimal data to represent your app, and everything that can be derived from that should be, so that it doesn't have to be independently updated. It reacts. Okay, so you minimize the amount of management that your code has to do. You minimize state management. You minimize state, so you minimize state management. And then synchronous reactivity. That's like signals, okay, or mobx or computed or selectors or any of these things. That's not that hard. I say that, but it has taken web developers forever to get there. Like, for some layers, because when it comes to the DOM, this is so crazy that Angular and React took off so fast, and what they brought is declarative DOM updates. So instead of saying jQuery, grab that element, update the text value, blah, 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 like imperative spaghetti code. Now you can say, okay, here's a div, and what it is this value that may change over time, but it's that value, that variable. So you can declare the thing in one place and not have to update it from all these event handlers. I'm just trying to get people to do that exact same thing, but in multiple layers of applications. And the reason I like Ryan Carniato so much and everything he does is not only because I learned from him, but he's also encouraging people to have this same kind of mindset, at least for DOM updates and derived states. I feel like it's good, but it's like 20% of the problem. Like, it's addressing 20% of the problem. All right, the second one, multiple states reacting to single events, Redux, reducers, or ArcGIS scan. And I'm not alone in this one. This is Redux basic stuff. If you want to understand state management, you have to understand Redux and Redux best practices and why they were introduced to begin with. So maybe watch the Flux talk, pay attention to it. It's just like you dispatch an event, and then the states that care about it can react on their own. What this does is it moves logic downstream. So again, like what can be downstream should be downstream, which better co-locates it. I've talked about this stuff so many times. I'm just going to go more quickly through these things. It's so hard for me to say the same things over and over again. Asynchronously derived state. Okay, this one apparently is really difficult too, because for years at my, like I gave a talk at NGConf 2019, and I don't see people use switch map. This is like the hello world of RxJS. And you're an Angular developer, most of you. Why haven't you learned how to use this yet? Why haven't you learned when to use it? Pagination, filters, sorting, anything that data itself depends on. So a parameter you might send to an endpoint to fetch data, you probably should use a switch map. When data has itself a dependency, you have to chain off of that original dependency. Because I see so many people just manually subscribe to one thing and then push updates to another thing. But the problem with that is race conditions. A lot of the times, you also get, you have imperative code, and that's annoying. It's kind of spaghetti code, things flying everywhere instead of being declared in one place. Oh yeah, and you get the benefit that when you navigate away or whatever, it unsubscribes, and you can handle that. And Angular makes it easier now with take until destroyed. But still, why don't you just code things accurately? Because the fact is, the data that you're pushing to imperatively, it should be described as the thing that reacts. Like it's an impartial description. So I'm just saying, like, describe things how they are over time. And that's what RxJS allows you to do fundamentally. Okay. The last one I'll talk about is using subscriptions. Okay? Using subscription information in RxJS. In React, you don't have to really think about this very much unless you're doing shared state stuff. But like, it's ridiculous that you have a service where you're fetching data and you're subscribing there, and that data just sits there forever unless you manually make it clear or reset. That's insane. That is insane. I can't believe anybody puts up with that. How can you write clear data in dozens of services and not... I don't want to... There's some language that I don't want to put on YouTube, but I can't believe it. I can't believe the repetition I'm seeing all over the place. Don't subscribe eagerly. Declare code, including what it needs, and it will get what it needs when it needs it. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell on this. If you want to learn more, go find the AutoSignal article or the video, or the 10 tips for scaling signals, and you can see all the benefits, all the code I deleted, all the everything. Stated apt does this too. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, the only reason I created AutoSignal is because stated apt is an entire library. I wanted people to use this and actually code in a way where they're actually using RxJS for what it's good at. And I'm seeing nobody do it. I don't know what I need to do. Tell me what I need to do. I'm tired of joining a new project and seeing crap again and again and again and again and again. I'm tired of seeing examples on Twitter like, hey, look at this really cool thing. And then what I see is crap because there's like this small little thing that's a benefit only if you're doing things wrong in the big picture. Like, it's so cool that things are a little more convenient for you to make crap. And then that's kind of how I feel about schematics too. Like, using code to automate boilerplate generation does not make it less boilerplate. And unless you have perfect integration with your IDE and it's always up to date and everything, you're going to be updating that code, managing it. Code is code. And if it is boilerplatey, you can have all the tools you want, but at the end of the day, it's still the ground truth, and you're going to have to deal with that crap. Schematics are a crutch for a bad API, and I'm glad Angular is improving that API. Just use single components, make things simple. You're never going to use the same template in multiple class components. You probably don't even know what I'm talking about because they're not separate concerns. You've never thought of them as separate concerns, just separate files. And there's no point to having separate files if your components aren't giant blobs. And maybe if it was a little easier to create components, they wouldn't be giant blobs because you wouldn't be procrastinating creating a new component. While you're thinking about a problem, you might spontaneously say, hey, what would that look like if I created a child component for that? But instead you're like, child component, no, let's not do that yet. I'm still thinking. It's slowing your thought process down, having to create 10 files for every component you have to make, and then like all this boilerplate. Sorry for the rant, and I was really having fun. I was, the last few months, I got better at creating animations for videos. I was really enjoying it. And then I had to consult on a project, and I had less time to make videos. And over time, I've just seen like State App get like no new stars, and I'm like wondering like, at what point is anything that I'm doing going to have any kind of effect on the way people code? When is it going to be kind of self-sustaining? When are these ideas going to catch on? When are other people going to start writing articles about them? And, getting the patterns in. I don't care if you use state adapt. I don't care if you use the auto signal pattern. I just want to see, first of all, as a user of apps, I can see when something is caused by imperative code, like a bug. And I'm sick as a user of crappy software. You guys, you're web developers and you're making crappy software. It should bother you. And it shouldn't be hard to write good software. You should demand better tools. You don't need a billion stars to feel comfortable using something that's better. You should code in a clean way and learn the tools that make it easy to write good code. I'm sick of the crap out there. All right, so that's one thing, just as a user, but also as a developer coding with other people and seeing like, oh, I don't know if we can do that because what does the Angular team say? They work on a framework all the time. They depend on the community to know what the best practices are for the most part. They have opinions, and there's like the Angular team, they get new members or whatever. I don't really pay attention closely, but like they have great ideas, but they're not the government. They can't command you. They can't tell you what to do. They can't put you in Angular jail. You need to figure out and have opinions about what kind of coding styles are good, and proactively write better code. Anyway, I probably will get back to creating videos. With State Adapt, I feel like I have a commitment to maintain it. When it comes to adding signal support, that is important, but not too important until Angular puts signal inputs in their components. Because for now, as far as I'm concerned, just use the auto signal pattern or State Adapt. Signals right now are just the new async pipe. Just use them in components for the most part, unless you're doing auto signal. And it's just, a lot of it is hype. So I'm not just gonna the funny thing is, it would only take me like probably an hour to add signal support. When I say support, I mean like syntactic sugar, because that's all it is. But it doesn't even matter that much to me, because it might save a line of code in some components, but it's not a game changer until you can use signals more in like component inputs and stuff like that. But I'll keep doing State Adapt. I just don't know what to do at this point in general. I feel like I owe people support for State Adapt, and so I'll keep doing it just as a matter of commitment. But help me out.